As entrepreneurs, we are all passionate about what we're doing. Well, maybe we're not. One of the things that happens so often in life is that we go in different directions. As entrepreneurs, we want to make that big dent in the universe. We want to deliver tremendous value. And by doing that, we do exceptionally well. It's in our enlightened self-interest to do that. Well, today's guest is a little bit different. It's my first guest from South America, from Brazil. And she is an amazing entrepreneur and has a great journey with a lot of life lessons that are going to be phenomenal for each of us. She was, I know, be careful here now, for many of us this is not good. She was an attorney. She studied here in the States at Columbia and really rose to the top of her profession. And like many of us, questioned whether that was the right thing. And she made a change in direction. She decided to go after her passion. And she is very passionate. She's very successful. She's had a huge, going from an attorney to then doing really a major international presence, but primarily in Brazil, coaching other successful individuals on their passion. She had one of the most successful launches ever in 7 days, 7 figures, as she started her business. So amazing, amazing lessons that you are going to want to take and employ in your own business. So stay tuned. You do not want to miss this.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Paula Abreu, I am so excited to have you here. I had the good fortune of meeting you at Genius Mastermind Group with Joe Polish, and just you are full of energy, making the world a better place, and I wanted to share your message with our audience. So thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you, John, for having me here. I was really honored with your invitation, and it's a big, big pleasure to talk to your audience today. Thank you.
Well, I asked Joe, who should I interview? And he goes, just pointed at you, Paula, and he said, Paula for sure. And we're getting to know each other. And I mean, you've got a remarkable story. And I want to go to the backstory first before we go into some of the lessons learned, because you've got some great lessons. You're coaching some very successful people on chasing their passion. But one of the things that I always like when somebody's doing coaching is they've walked the talk and they've really made a big difference. And why don't you share with us your journey here, because you were at the top of your profession as an attorney and you kind of did a pivot and went in a totally different direction.
Yeah, I was an attorney for 15 years, and I know that's not a good thing. Here in Brazil, it's the same, so I'm used to turning faces and strange looks. But that was my past life, and I did that, and as you said, I managed to be very successful at that. But it was not my passion. Ever since I was a little girl, it was my dream to become a writer. And even as a lawyer, I did publish a couple of books, but I usually woke up at 4:30 a.m. to be able to actually write. And what I really wanted was to do that full time. And then I was working for an oil and gas company back in 2012, and the company went through a restructure, and I was made redundant, which ended up being a blessing in my life because I got a big check to be able to do whatever I wanted. And then I decided that instead of finding a new job and instead of just starting anew in doing the same things that were not making me happy, I wanted to create a new life. And I wanted mostly to show my son that he was entitled to follow his passion and follow his bliss and be happy. And as you said, there's no better way of teaching something to someone than doing it yourself and being the example. So I wanted to be the example to my son. He was 3 back then. And I started writing about that on a Facebook fan page that I started like a couple of days after I stopped working. I decided not to take a new job as a lawyer and to use that check for at least a year, let's say, take a sabbatical and give it a try. And if all went wrong, what I would do is just go back to law. So the worst case scenario would be just go back to doing what I was doing. So I had a year to give it a go. And what happened is a lot of people started following that page, and I realized that I was not the only one who was unhappy with success, and I was not the only one who had chosen to give up on their passion in the past. And I started coaching people because I started getting inbox messages saying, I want to transition too, can you help me? And I had no idea how, but I started studying. I had a few trainings in self-development in NLP, and I started studying coaching, and that started to become a business on its own. And it wasn't planned, because my plan was to become a writer. But at the moment that I followed my bliss, then the universe kind of rearranged and sent me the clients that I needed to start making money and to be able to live out of my passion. And I started an online course a few months later, because people started asking me how are you getting clients online? Because I was like a very new to coaching, and I already had a full my dance card was full, and I had a wait list, and experienced coaches were struggling to get clients here in Brazil. So I started an online course teaching people how to start an online business and showing what I was doing. It was sort of a reality show of my business. I was sharing even the financial results each month of what I was doing and what was the outcome. As you said, entrepreneurs want to know the metrics and want to know what's working, what's not working. And after that, I published my third book. I published it online. I had the other two books had been published by big publishers in Brazil. But this third one, I decided I'm going to publish it. I'm going to self-publish and sell it online. I recorded an audiobook, which is really rare here in Brazil. It's not common at all. No one's used to that. And people were in the beginning even like scared of buying it. But then they started buying in, I'm listening to your book while I'm on the treadmill. And they found out that was possible. I know it's pretty common in the US, but in Brazil, it's not. So I did make some money with that book, but of course, very little close to what I did as a lawyer. But it caught the attention of one of the biggest self-development publishers in Brazil, who a month later put a book proposal, and it came out. It ended up coming out in paper just a few months later. And I still sell the ebook and the audiobook because I didn't sell the rights to those. So I think that was like the first time that ever happened in Brazil, that someone owns the right to some types of editions of the books and not the paper. But after that, I decided to launch the online program. I went to the US, I met Brandon Burchard and some of my other mentors there, and I decided to launch an online coaching program because my wait list by then was 250 people. And I thought, well, I won't be able to serve all these people, so how can I serve all these people with my work? And the online course was the solution. And then I launched that one 4 times, and it was always a success. It was always a multiple 6-figure launch. And then on the 4th launch, I became the first woman to run 7 in 7, as they say here in Brazil, which is cool because the online marketing here in Brazil, it's still very masculine. So to have a woman with that result here, it's very good for other women to see that they are also able. It's not impossible.
It's good no matter what gender or what country you're in, too. And yeah, I want to just kind of, you shared an awful lot. And it's really good. I mean, the part that's so interesting, I think, over and over again, almost nobody has a career in a straight line. Matter of fact, I don't know anybody that has, their business as an entrepreneur go in a straight line. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring you here, Paula, to have you, share you with our audience, and because each of us, is always struggling with what our passion it is. And sometimes, the traditional corporate life, it's easy to trade, the classic hours and health and everything for dollars. And once we get clear on our passion and it's something the marketplace wants, and we listen to the marketplace as you did, where you start writing and then people are inquiring, and then these lessons of going out and getting a mentor. Brendan Burchard, who's in our mastermind group, is certainly an extremely talented individual. When I first started my online marketing, I think it was 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I went to one of his earliest experts academies. Cool. And he, and that was, I didn't even have an email list at that time. So this going and being open to the world, and really, each of us can do this. And now for my fellow entrepreneurs, you likely, if you're watching this, you probably have a very successful business. But one of the reasons we wanted Paula here is that our ability to kind of pivot and really focus it in on things that we're passionate about, that we could really make a difference, or at the same time, possibly removing ourselves from that for our next adventure, whatever is the right thing for you. But Paula, in your journey, this is a big journey around the world you've been doing, and I want to come to you speak of mindset, and this is a challenge for all of us. It's easy, to get distracted in the world, to really not think that you can accomplish. You're accomplishing, really a corporate attorney in oil and gas doing what you're doing. Nobody would, the movie rights wouldn't sell. It just wouldn't sell. It doesn't make sense. And you've accomplished the impossible. Well, every entrepreneur, really, the successful ones, have that impossible. How did you create that mindset so that you could accomplish that?
Well, it was impossible for me to imagine that. And when I did choose to change my life, I was willing to be poor and happy. I had been rich and unhappy for 35 years. So I decided I'm going to be poor now. It's okay. I've made a lot of money. I know I'm capable, but I now want to be happy. And it's funny that you mentioned the Experts Academy, because when I went to my first High Performance Academy with Brendan in 2013, I was like, dude, I want to be on that stage someday. I want to do that. And I was so focused on doing it. And then a week ago, I think, or not more than a couple of weeks ago, one of my masterminders was at Experts Academy. Can I show you something?
Sure.
So she was at Experts.
Yeah.
And she took picture of this and sent me. This is a picture of me at Night 77 launch. So I am now officially in the Experts Academy materials. And then Brendan said hi here. So I'm really thankful to that guy for everything that he's inspired me to do and taught me to do. And I think that was the biggest shift in my mindset, to realize that the impossible is just something that someone told you once and you chose to believe. But actually the impossible is the new normal. As long as you focus on something and you can visualize yourself doing it, it's possible. I haven't been on stage yet, but Brendan did put my picture on the screen and told my story. I wasn't there, but my masterminders were there to represent me, and that was really a symbol for me of all of this mindset change. And I think that in changing my mindset, the two things that I've changed together with this idea of the impossible being the new normal is I've started to include gratitude in my life, not only as an abstract idea, because no one thinks of themselves as ungrateful. Like, as an abstract idea, I think everyone considers themselves as a grateful person. But I started to include that in my life as a daily practice. I do have a journal where I write every day about many things, about the things I'm learning, about what I'm planning, what's next. And also I write every night before I go to bed about the things that I'm grateful for, and not like in an abstract way, oh, I'm grateful for my life, but detailed, in a more detailed way. If I'm grateful for giving you an interview today, I'm not going to just say that. I'm going to say I'm grateful for the conversation that we had before. I'm grateful for the fact that you're so kind, and for the fact that I'm the first person from South America to be able to talk to your audience. I'm going to look for the details. And that has changed the way I look at life and the way I live my days, because when I wake up, I know that I have to write about something I'm grateful for at the end of the day. So I look out for nice things while I'm doing things during the day. So that has changed my focus from scarcity to abundance. And
Yeah.
I started complaining and started thanking.
Well, it's such a big part. I mean, I started incorporating. Somebody introduced me to the 5-minute journal. I author a whole bunch of books, but I have a team of writers. So I'm not, the individual doing the writing. They're my ideas. But the idea of keeping a journal has never been something that I was that interested in, and started doing it. And you hit on it. To me, the most important thing is it's so easy in life to think of scarcity. I mean, you can turn on the news, you can, talk to a lot of individuals out there, and the world is full of scarcity. And the reality is the world's full of abundance if we choose that. And particularly when you start capturing those gratitudes, now, whether you do it in journals, Dan Sullivan has a app called Win Streak. Yeah, there's so many different tools for us, but I mean that changed. You're just finding the good things in life, and there's so many of them, Paula.
Yeah, it's awesome. You start loving life even more. So it's a practice that I highly recommend. All my clients, they start a gratitude journal and they love it. So, and many of my clients say, I came to you because of this and that, but the most important thing I learned was to become more grateful. So it really does transform people.
Well, I would encourage everyone, that's with us here today, and as you're listening to this, is to do, no matter how you do it, take advantage of the gratitude. But one of the things that in your coaching you do is you talk about forgiving the past, and nobody gets out of life unscarred. I mean, we've all had serious things. Sometimes we've scarred ourselves. Other times somebody else scarred us. But how do you get past the past to have that bigger future, that impossible future we've been talking about?
Okay, I grew up here in Brazil as a Catholic girl. So the forgiveness that I've learned was the Catholic forgiveness, which is, you did me wrong, but I'm such a nice person, so I will forgive you. And what I've learned in the last years, ever since I changed my life, is a different kind of forgiveness, which is I've become so conscious of my ego, especially in that specific moment when I was let go by the oil and gas company. On that day, I became so conscious that I was identifying myself with that position and with being a lawyer and with all that lifestyle that I had, that I kind of separated from that automatically on that day. And I'm every day I'm fighting to keep that separation, keep that distance, and to remain as an observer. And what I've learned is that the things that you believe that people have done to you in the past, or society, or whoever has hurt you, or even yourself, those things are not real, because they were just things that were done to your ego. So someone let me go from my job, and that was my job, and that was not me. That was Paula, the lawyer, or the attorney, but it was not who I really am. It was not my essence. So I don't need to forgive that, because I chose to believe that that was hurting me, or that could actually hurt me in some way, but that was not true. So it's awesome when you realize that, because sometimes you have a grudge with someone for 10 years, or you don't talk to a relative or to a friend, because he said something about you. And then all of a sudden you realize that that's something that they said is not about you. It can be just about your ego, but it can never be about your true essence and your higher self. So when you connect to your higher self, and that is something that happens when you follow your passion, you can forgive with more ease, because you're not forgiving the other person. Actually, what I've been doing in the last years is forgiving myself for believing that those people were doing something that could hurt me, because that was not real. And I chose to believe what the Course in Miracles call a tiny mad lie. It was just a tiny mad lie that I chose to believe.
Yeah, no, I think that we can cause so much damage to ourselves, well, disproportionate, even if the person wants to do serious harm to us with that. And one of the thoughts is that we get to decide as entrepreneurs, as individuals, what of the past we want to bring forward. And we don't have to bring our whole past. And this is the kind of the classic, you go off to college, you can reinvent yourself. You go to a new town, you can reinvent yourself. You can reinvent yourself staying in the same spot. You don't have to bring all that past. And we want our futures to be bigger, and we can. And, I think that forgiving the past is so important. One of the things in your coaching that we're talking about is consistency. And this is something that you and I are big believers in. Share what consistency means to you, and then how you're using it, and how would you recommend your fellow entrepreneurs use this, Paula?
Okay. I'm an online marketer, so many online marketers will teach you that your number one asset as an online entrepreneur is your list of subscribers. Maybe you've heard that before when you're studying marketing tools. But what I've learned from Dean Graziosi, who's also in our mastermind, is that as an entrepreneur, my most important asset is my confidence. So I work on that on a daily basis. And sometimes we do something consistently, such as writing blog posts every day, or making videos every week, or making podcasts every day. And we get very little to no response. And the most common reaction to this is to think that it's not working, that your efforts are not working, that you're not getting results. But Brendon Burchard told me that if you're doing your thing consistently, you are getting results, because you are improving your self-confidence. And there's a book I love called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he says that, the first agreement is that you should be impeccable with your word. And by being consistent, you do that, because you tell yourself you're going to shoot a video once a week, or you're going to write a blog post once a day, or you're going to start a podcast series and you're going to interview people. And if you keep your promise and you keep doing it consistently, the first thing that you get is you boost your self-confidence and you increase your self-esteem, because you realize that you're a person who can be trusted. You can trust yourself, and that comes before everything else. Of course, if you keep doing it, chances are that people are going to start liking it and giving you feedback. So you're going to see the results after a while. But what I see is a lot of people who just start, they get no response, and they just let it go like a few weeks later, or maybe a couple of months later. And sometimes it takes more time than that.
And it does. I mean, you mentioned 2 names, Dean Graziosi, who we were in Dean's office, and he's got a studio there that he does. When you ask Dean, one of his biggest successes, and he's one of the top real estate gurus really in the U.S., and he's been hugely successful. And Dean is his weekly wisdoms. He does a video each week, and I don't know how many years he's done it in a row, but it's huge. And he would say just having that ability to share passionately with his audience. And, there were times early on, I'm sure, where Dean questioned it. And I did see Brendon very early on. And, Brendon has a huge audience now, and Brendon has walked me through, exactly what he does every week. And, it's extremely consistent. And getting that message out, Paula, is just so powerful. And I mean, this is something I encourage everyone to do, is to, really create that structure. One of the things I want to go over, you had mentioned, and I'm just going to touch on it. You also talked about the importance of kind of, stepping away for a second, meditations. And, from a business, I kind of grew up, in New York. I was a pilot in the Navy, and I've been a financial guy in Silicon Valley all my life, numbers and so on. When I first introduced the concept of meditation as a business guy, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I don't have time for any of this stuff and so on. But that's been important to your coaching clients and yourself. Why don't you just touch on why?
Okay. I think it's very easy today to find information on technical stuff you can do to accelerate your success. You can go to websites, you can find excellent books, cheap materials, and go to workshops. It's all out there. But there is one resource that is more efficient than all other skills, and that you can only access by going inside, and that is your inner guidance and your higher self. And meditation is the one practice that lots of entrepreneurs fail to include in their daily routines, and that alone could help them not only accelerate their success, but also improve their lives. If you meditate every day, you start what happened to me in that day when I was let go, that separation between my ego and the observer. You don't have to go through a drastic, dramatic, tragic thing to have that. You can meditate every day for 1 minute, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, and develop that skill to be able to observe what's going on in your life and not get so attached to it and not identify yourself to it so much that you lose perspective. So it gives you a lot of perspective. And a lot of my clients have that same reaction. I don't have time for that. And the people who say that they don't have time for that are usually the people who need meditation the most. Because when you start meditating, there's the paradox of time. You spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes meditating, but then for the rest of the day, your productivity boosts so much that you gain back those 10 minutes that you spent meditating, because you get more focused. You can concentrate more on the things that you're doing. Your skills flourish faster, and you can improve on so many levels. Your brain, it's like your brain is like a computer, and you need to turn it off at the end of the day.
Well, it's so many of us, and I do now. I get up at 5. I have this whole routine that I do, and it's part of it. But it's also it's easy for us to say, well, I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time for meditation. I don't have time for this or that. And, productivity is just so important. And, this is all about accelerating your success. You got to have that high energy yourself. I mean, and that makes a huge difference, doesn't it, Paula?
Yes, and if you're the type of person who says you don't have time to eat right or to exercise or to sleep, minimum 7 hours a night, or to meditate, then you seriously do need to look back, to step back and look at your life and to investigate what kind of life you're building for yourself. Because if you're building something, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're creating your own business and creating your own reality in your own life, and you're not creating enough space to take care of yourself, then what kind of life are you creating?
No, and particularly if you're already having success. I mean, some of us are better at. I'm extremely disciplined in business. Exercise, not a big, that's not my passion. So I hire a trainer who comes over a few times a week and puts the program together. Same with nutritionists and so on. So whatever you need to get through. Paula, this is kind of leading to, I want to go to the next segment, which is a book of the day. And this is a great example, the book that you're going to recommend of some of the challenges here. So, Paula, okay. What would be the book of the day that you would recommend to your fellow entrepreneurs?
Okay, a book I go back to all the time is Thrive by Arianna Huffington. And as a former victim of society's definition of success, I believe it's very, very important that all entrepreneurs start to question their current metrics. Most of the time, they're paying for their success with their health, with their sanity, and sometimes even with their lives. And I think that is a book that gave me a new perspective on what should be the real metrics of success and of how important it is to take care of yourself in order to be able to be the leader that you want to be. Because if you don't have energy, then you don't have vision. I love the part in the book where Ariana says that the leader is the one who sees the tip of the iceberg. But if he's too tired and if he doesn't have energy, then he won't see it. And you're the leader of your business and of your own life. And if you don't have enough energy to have vision, then you don't want to be Titanic.
I thought I've spent some time with Ariana, and she's an amazing individual. I normally don't comment on political, but I'm going to, because I'm kind of the opposite of Ariana's from a political standpoint. And I wondered when I first met her whether I would enjoy, getting to know her more, and I have. I mean, she is just such a talented entrepreneur and at the top of her game. Certainly, whether you like the Huffington Post, she did invite me to write, and I write a weekly column with her now in the Huffington Post Small Business on Entrepreneurship. But the reality is, you read the book because she hit hard. I mean, a pool of blood, and her. What we want all of us to do is to do it without the classic guy thing is to have a heart attack and then you reassess. Don't do that. Do that now. And it's a great book. No matter what your political belief, you're going to love it. Okay, let's go to the next one. And that's the application of the day. Paula, I'm giving you a little latitude here. Normally I force the guests to do only one, but you're coming further than anyone else has on Skype with me here. So what are your recommendations?
Okay, on my smartphone, on my iPhone, I love Headspace, which is an app that will teach you how to be mindful in a way that you can measure your improvement. And entrepreneurs love metrics. So you will learn how to meditate if you don't have that habit yet. You will get alerts. It's guided meditation and it's mindfulness, actually. So it's an easier type of meditation for people who are not used to meditation or who have some sort of negative reaction to meditation as an initial reaction. So give it a go. And I told you I use on my computer, on my browser, I use 2 apps that have boosted my productivity, and I highly recommend to all my clients. One is the Kill News feed, which blocks the Facebook feed, so I won't waste my time looking at food pictures or cat pictures or my friends' babies and all of that. Not that I don't want to look at that, but not when I'm working. And the other one is called Video Speed Controller, and that one allows me to take lots of online courses at a faster pace. It allows you to accelerate the speed of any videos on YouTube or Vimeo, so it's awesome for people who want to be continuously educating themselves with online courses or TED Talks, whatever it is that you watch for inspiration and education.
Great recommendations, and I will download all 3. I don't have all 3. As a matter of fact, 2 out of 3 I hadn't heard of. So Headspace I had heard of, but I haven't done it, but you're motivating me to do it here. Let's go to the last on resources. And Paula, I'm going to pull up your website here. And I do have Google. I'm using their translator mode to pull it up because not surprisingly, since you're in Brazil, the native language is not English. And what resources do you have available for your fellow entrepreneurs if they don't speak or aren't fluent in Brazil? I mean, Brazil in Portuguese.
I'm soon launching a high performance meditations program, and I would love to give away for your audience a guided meditation that is a meditation to generate productivity. So it is a less than 10 minute meditation that you can do once a day, and it will increase your focus, increase your concentration, and increase your productivity.
No, that's great. That's really kind. And let me kind of bring back in the last segment here is key takeaways. What I want to do, Paul, I mean, I've got a whole bunch of notes. I just want to go through these because, here at AES Nation, we're all about results. And remember, everything that we talk about, you can go to aesnation.com if you're not on the website and get the transcript. You can go ahead and look at the show notes. Any of the links that Paula and I talk about are there. And, the first thing I just really want to, the importance of mindset Paula talked about, and this is critical. And it's so easy to get, lose, I like the term quiet confidence that whoever you're working with, whatever business, whether you're selling widgets, whether you're in professional services, whether you're an online marketer, whatever it is, you've got to have that quiet confidence that you're able to inspire action for your clients and guard that with a passion. Second is gratitude. I mean, we live, as Paul was saying, in a world of abundance, no matter where we are in the world. And it's easy to get caught up in scarcity, and we have to fight this and remind ourselves. And one of the most powerful things Paula said is just journaling those gratitudes. I do 3 a day, and it just, you're just in it. In the beginning, you start searching it out. Now there's so many, I got to narrow it down. Forgive the past. Nobody, I mentioned before, gets out of life unscarred. It would be so easy, as I even say, forgiving the past, I'm getting visions of some of the people that I perceive that have done some injustice. You get to decide whether you're going to bring them along. I choose not to in the future. And that's so important. Consistency, get your message out there. You want to change the world. You want to have a huge impact. You have to be consistent in getting it out there. There are going to be times where, your business is just accelerating. You're on, it's just going so well. And other times it's going to be quiet, but it's that consistency that'll get it through. And the power of meditation, health, it's all about not time management, it's energy management. Paula, this has been just really great. It's been very inspiring, your success. I want to encourage everyone to take a look at the transcript, the show notes. It's all about execution, taking the ideas that Paula shared with us at aesnation.com and go make it happen, because your clients, your future clients, all your strategic partners, they're counting on you. Don't let them down. Wish you the best of success.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. aesnation.com